Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We are reporting from the courthouse of the trial of Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. Outside, you see this. The cameras are focused on the door to which former President Donald Trump should be walking out in probably about another 30 minutes. There is a witness on the stand right now, Mr. Pecker, former owner of the National Enquirer. Shout out to those on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Make sure when you come in, say hello. Good morning for those who are joining in. This is a shot outside the New York City Manhattan Criminal Courthouse where Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, is inside the courtroom. He should be coming out before the lunch break to speak to the media. Stand by. All right, guys, we're gonna play a video of attorney Jennifer Bonen, who represented R. Kelly in his Chicago trial, and she's also held his New York appeal. Well, she appeared on TMZ yesterday, and she discussed what the likelihood of Harvey Weinstein's California conviction being overturned.
stunning development in New York. Harvey Weinstein's conviction for rape has been overturned. Overturned because the Court of Appeals, which is the highest court in New York, ruled that allowing the jury to hear from women that were not directly connected to the case, the accusers in the case, that was out of bounds. It was reversible error. And this is a stunning new development.
And it means that Harvey Weinstein, his conviction in New York now thrown out. He is being held in New York. He's in New York State prison right now.
And prosecutors have said they are going to retry him there.
But there is still an LA conviction that he's under. So let's say that New York has to let him go. Even though they have said they're going to retry him.
They would take him back to Los Angeles, where he would be serving his sentence for the convictions here.
But they are actually, his lawyers are trying to get the LA conviction overturned as well. So joining us right now to talk about their next move and whether or not they believe Harvey Weinstein will walk free is one of his attorneys, Jennifer Bonen. Jennifer, welcome to TMZ Live.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Jennifer, first of all, your reaction to the Court of Appeals in New York and how it might align with what you're trying to do in Los Angeles.
I'm not surprised by the decision of the Court of Appeals. Time and time again, trial judges, in the Cosby case, this case, they do not seem to understand that you cannot overwhelm a jury with multiple allegations, uncharged allegations, and expect a defendant to get a fair trial. And the high courts understand it. The trial courts do not, apparently. So they're going to continue to be reversed. And they need to understand that they have an obligation to an accused to give him a fair trial. And they didn't do it here, and they didn't do it in California as well. And that conviction was hanging on by a thread even before the news of this New York conviction being vacated. So we believe that conviction should go. In fact, I think he should be released on bail pending appeal right this very second. And that's what we're going to be working towards.
So wait a minute. So are you going to New York to ask for that?
No, we are going to California to ask for that, because what people don't understand is that California jury was tainted out of the gate because they knew from Jump Street, even through jury selection, that Mr. Weinstein had been convicted, a conviction that no longer exists, in New York. Multiple jurors said, I can't be fair to this guy because I know he was convicted in New York. And now you have that tainting the entire jury pool, the entire jury process. It impacted whether Mr. Weinstein was going to take the stand. It simply tainted the entire process in California. In addition to...
Can I interrupt you for a second? So
Sure.
Your argument is not so much that, well, maybe it's both, but not so much that there were prior bad acts that shouldn't have been allowed in, but that this was all predicated on the fact that the jury knew that there was a conviction in New York. So out of the gate, now that there's no conviction in New York, by definition, there should be a reversal. There should be, they should throw the case out in LA.
That's right. It's both. It's both. The substance of the Court of Appeals decision in New York has huge impact for the propriety of the ruling in California, because there was what we call 1108 evidence, Molyneux evidence. It's really just other accusers coming in. That type of evidence was presented in California as well. That's a problem. That was always going to be an issue on appeal that we were raising and are raising, and the briefs due May 20th. We now have a separate, equally compelling issue that you have a tainted jury. I mean, Mr. Weinstein didn't come into a courtroom with the presumption of innocence to begin with because of the way the media handled the case, and it's what the media does. But everybody knew about these allegations. And then you have jurors who believed he was fairly convicted in New York saying, yeah, I mean, he was convicted there. He probably did it here. That tainted the process from the start. So it's really both types of attacks on this conviction. And I will also point out, as you know, Mr. Weinstein was only convicted of one of the accusers, that's Jane Doe 1. And we have 3 sworn affidavits from jurors who said they never would have convicted him, even on that count, had they been privy to information that was withheld for them about her motivations, because she did sue him about, 2 weeks after the verdict came back, after she said she never was interested in money, and then about information about her relationship with a person who was there at the festival where she claims Harvey assaulted her. So again, the conviction was so problematic from the start. Then you add this yeah, we believe that Mr. Weinstein really should be given bail pending appeal because there's a lot to unravel here.
So, Jennifer, do you think that I know you want him freed pending appeal in California, but in New York, where they've said they do intend to retry him, and who knows how long that would take, do you think that you'd be able to get him out on bail in New York as well?
I understand that the district attorney is saying they're going to retry him. I guess that's what they said today. I haven't heard it myself. I'll take your word for it. The reality, though, is that at the time that Mr. Weinstein was tried in California, this jury was under an assumption that he was convicted in New York. And that assumption is now a fallacy. He was not convicted. And that doesn't change whether they retry him or not. I would also point out that one of the accusers, Jane Doe 2, I believe, in the California case, was one of the Molyneux witnesses in New York. Okay. And when she was cross-examined, there was extensive cross-examination about her testimony in New York. So this jury in California was inundated with information that, yes, he was tried in New York, and they knew he was convicted in New York. And now that that conviction doesn't exist, whether they try to retry him or not, the reality is that jury was tainted. And I don't think a retrial changes that.
Have you talked to your client since the Court of Appeals made its ruling?
No, but I talked to him yesterday, and we were waiting on it. So, but I look forward to talking to him today. It's an exciting day for him, and it's an exciting day for the criminal justice process, because there still needs to be a fair process. Our constitutional principles rely on it. And, whatever your feelings are about Harvey Weinstein, our system should work fairly for everybody, whether it's Harvey Weinstein or some John Doe. It has to work fairly for everybody. And the prosecution is taking too many liberties, and trial judges are allowing them to do it. And it needs to end.
There are instances where prior bad acts can be allowed in cases like this, right? And it's my understanding that they did weigh that at the trial level, the trial judge, there was a discussion about this, about whether or not these witnesses should be allowed to testify. Do you feel that something went wrong in that process? Because they can be allowed in, correct me if I'm wrong,
if you could
for
show
motivation,
if you
right?
could
For
show an
MO.
MO.
Right, exactly. That's right, Harvey. The MO, exception, if you will, is a very limited exception. It has to be like a signature crime. It's like when you have a serial killer out there that does something unique, like scratches his initials in the back of a victim, and then says, well, I didn't do this crime, but there are the initials in the back of this victim. You say, okay, wait a second. You were guilty of these other ones. We can connect you to this because identity is at issue. And I don't want to get too into the weeds of it. Right. That's an appropriate use of prior bad acts. But to just say, which, really what happened here is that, he was doing this type of stuff or some variation of this type of stuff on other occasions, that is not modus operandi. That is propensity evidence. You did it before, you must have done it here, and that's the prohibited purpose. And that's what they did here, and that's what they did in California. And the prosecution conflates these issues. Frankly, trial judges don't get it right very often. And then even if there is a legitimate purpose for it, you still have to weigh the prejudice. That's always the final factor that a court has to say, okay, maybe it has some legitimate purpose, but it doesn't outweigh the prejudice that's going to impact the defendant and whether he gets a fair trial. So that weighing process does not appear to be an important part of the court's analysis, and it should be. You still need to fundamentally, at bottom, say, is this jury going to convict him for what he's accused of here, or because of how he has led his life or his character? And that is something that I think the trial judge in Harvey's case in New York did not properly balance, and the Court of Appeals agreed.
So last question, and I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but if you are now going to adjust your appeal in California to account for this Court of Appeals decision in New York, that's going to take some time because you're going to have to file briefs. Prosecution will then file its brief. That's going to take some time, and you may or may not win it. Assuming it either lingers or you don't win it, are you going to try to get your client moved from New York to California, or are you going to leave him there knowing that the DA there intends to retry him?
I have no say in all that. As long as he is well, right now he is in the custody of the New York Department of Corrections. He will stay there until the Court of Appeals judgment is final, in the sense that it's a final say. That I guess the district attorney could try to do a motion to reconsider or something of that nature. I don't know that they will. What they are saying is that they will retry him there, and my guess is that, well, I don't want to guess. That's a trickier question than you think, because he's under a
No,
conviction.
I knew it was pretty tricky when I asked it.
Yeah. No, it's, will they move him back while the DA is making the decision in New York? That's not what we would be seeking. I mean, our feeling is they should make that decision, and they're going to have to make it fast. He has speedy trial rights.
Okay, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much
Jennifer.
for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jennifer. Wow, this is a kind of stunning when we walked in.
As stunning, as stunned as people were the day that Cosby was let free and he walked out of prison, it seems like that's a very real possibility with Harvey Weinstein.
We will
at
see.
this
Again, that was it was a 4-3 decision by the Court of Appeal, so it was close.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so let's do an analysis on what Jennifer Bonen has said and how this New York decision will not only affect Harvey Weinstein, but it may also affect how the New York State or New York City prosecutors, if they elect to do so, go after Puff Daddy. One thing Jennifer Bonen pointed out, that the court in New York used similar acts, the prosecution used similar acts of bad behavior that wasn't really applicable to the trial. Now, for example, Harvey Weinstein was a playboy. Let's just say that. He was a playboy that played a little too hard, according to California, when that New York case was thrown out. Puff Daddy is a playboy. He may have been playing too hard. But then if the prosecution moves under the notion that, in addition, I'll just say use Cassie as an example. He settled with Cassie. If someone else from 20 years come back and say, hey, yeah, he did that to me too, is that relevant to the case at hand? Or is this just a pile on of rumors, speculations, or people who've come out after seeing the first case? Because this is the case with Harvey Weinstein. You see, the victim in New York said before the trial that she was not planning on suing. 2 weeks after the trial verdict against Harvey Weinstein came down, she sued. So she wasn't being honest. She basically decided, hey, this is probably the better PR approach to tell the public, the world, that I'm not suing this guy. I don't want none of his money. But right after he got convicted, sure enough, that was the first thing she did. She filed a lawsuit. So this is an interesting development in the case of Harvey Weinstein. But then if we drill down more into the decision, how would that affect her other client, R. Kelly? Because we know, at least in New York, the trial that I covered, that there were individuals that was brought forth from many, many years ago, even referencing Aaliyah. Should that have happened? Should the reference to Aaliyah in that trial, should that even have happened when there was nothing to substantiate it other than a purported marriage certificate? And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Again, these are some of the things, and you notice Jennifer Bonen didn't really speak about R. Kelly in particular, which I thought that was interesting because that's another high-profile case. We talked about Bill Cosby. She talked about Bill Cosby. She talked about Harvey Weinstein. But why no mention of R. Kelly? You can glean from this interview that she did with Charles and Harvey that perhaps that's not the conversation she wants to conflate with what is happening with her client, Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein got the big bucks. His movies are still playing all over the place. So I don't know. It's interesting, and I get what Charles was saying. Excuse me, what Harvey was saying about not wanting to get too much in the weeds of this her strategy. But just think about this: she has a interesting situation where the DA in New York has said that they're going to retry him. Now, what does that look like? She also alludes to the fact that the prosecutor can also file a appeal to the court's decision. That may not happen. They may, again, he's an older guy, uh, and there was things done wrong. How will they be able to clean this up in a new trial? What would be the approach? Because one thing that to their disadvantage, and that's the state, is that they know what the defense knows what the government's strategy will be moving forward in a new trial. How can they clean this up? And are they going to put themselves in a position where if they retry them and then they get they don't get a guilty verdict, they get a mistrial? That's just a lot of money in this particular case. A lot of money that New York taxpayers will obviously have to foot the bill on. So it's an interesting case. I did not see this one coming, nor did we saw the one coming with Bill Cosby. But one thing is that we can say is Jennifer Bonen is working. She's working. What R. Kelly would have fared even better if he had better defense. Would he fared better? Don't know. We have to see. This is a case that we're going to be monitoring. Yes, it's definitely a significant development in how the court viewed this case. And I'm also going to I have to say this as well. Even watching the Georgia case, while that's a state court appeals ruling, we do see similar situations that are happening in the trial of Young Thug. We see a lot of the similarities in the Young Thug trial, in that there are people that are coming from his past that the prosecution is putting in front of these jurors. You had Adrian Bean, you had Tick, you have Mr. DK, you're going to have others, you're going to have a detective. You have a detective who didn't take good notes, but has a great memory of the details. And some can view that as maybe she's been coached very well. She's a retired detective. So why does she have notes? And who? I'm not saying that the prosecution coerced her to, I'm not saying that, but it looks kind of interesting that you don't have any notes, but your recollection is stronger today than it was when it happened. I don't know. It's just things look kind of weird. I'm just putting it out there, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment. You are free to leave a comment on any one of the platforms, and let's discuss this, because this is, again, a interesting development in the case involving Harvey Weinstein. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me go back and see what's happening in New York. Nothing's happening significant in New York just yet, but we are waiting for former President Donald Trump to come out to talk to the media. Speak to the media, sir. And once he does that, I will bring you guys back inside. Uh, but yeah, I think that this is a real interesting development, and we'll see how that works, that plays out. One second, guys. Okay, so we have to do an update on another story, and that should happen around 1, 2 o'clock. We'll probably be doing another live on my personal page discuss that development. While this stream will continue going on, we'll be on another page doing that live. With that said, I'll be back.
How many more we got in there? How many more? Two more.
Well, as you can see, former President Trump did not stop to talk to reporters. He may come back around before he goes back in. He usually stops to talk to the media entering or leaving the court, but for whatever reason, he didn't stop this time. Maybe someone from his team will come out and talk to the media. But this is a live shot from the courthouse, and let's see if he's going to warm up and come back out because he complained earlier this morning that it was pretty cold inside the courthouse. Pretty cold. Um, but let's see. Stand by.